the NXT factory, it's not working. No, nobody's getting over. Nobody's getting over. So now are they looking at, let's look at guys and gals on AEW that have at least gotten television time. People know who they are. They're already a little bit more established.
We got Shawn Spears, man, made his way to back to AEW recently. And before we go to my question, Vince, I want to ask you a question. So we're starting to get more defects from AEW. We've got 4 defects from AEW: Cody Rhodes, Jade Cargill, Andrade and Shawn Spears. Here's the funny thing about that, Vince, that I'm looking forward to what you have to say about this. All 4 of those defects have the same exact gimmick from what they did in AEW. So what are your thoughts on WWE bringing back all 4 of those? I mean, bringing back Cody, Shawn, and Andrade and new for Jade, but all 4 of them have the exact same gimmick as they did in AEW.
Bro, you know what that might be, Chris? Bro, and we've talked about this to nausea. The NXT factory, it's not working. Nobody's getting over. Nobody's getting over. So now are they looking at, let's look at guys and gals on AEW that have at least gotten television time. People know who they are. They're already a little bit more established. And maybe that's the road we start going down a little bit more because, bro, we just talked about this on the other show, bro. The Whoop Whoop girls.
Yeah.
Bro, they came in, won the belts, lost the belts, and haven't seen them since.
Yeah.
So maybe they're looking at a different way of doing business.
Yeah. It seems like they're going back to the old route because that was the old route in NXT, was bringing people from TNA and from ROH, like Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, James Storm, and a bunch of names there, and even people from the main roster. Finn Balor, it came from New Japan.
Bobby Roode,
Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe. So there were a lot of people who were coming in, and that was like a route to the main roster, but they already were established. That worked. The black and gold NXT era, that worked for quite a while. That was a lot of people's favorite era. And so they wanted to do more of a showcase for newer talent, since Michaels really liked to develop new talent, but it just really hasn't worked, from a wider scale. So it seems like what is old is new again, and bringing back, those names. EC3, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
you were one of those people from TNA and went to NXT.
But then too, even when I was coming over, I should have went and done something completely different. So, like I talked about in the past, you kind of they're inheriting something that they didn't create, so they're not necessarily desiring to push forward their own creation. And at that time when I came over, a lot of the people that came over with what they were already doing, like a Bobby and a Drew,
Ricochet,
were like, it worked. Right. And so it worked for me in NXT. I was fine. I was over, but I wasn't destined for there. But then the main roster, well, that was a conglomerate of a hellhole and a totally different story. But I mean, Cody's Cody, and Cody's, at heart was and always will be a WWE guy. So him coming back was kind of a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
I don't know if the character is necessarily the same as AEW or if that's just Cody. So I don't know if that kind of plays the same. Jade being newer, I mean, a freakishly athletic, lovely woman. Like, that is what she is. So doesn't really need to change. I didn't see Shawn come back. So is he Shawn Spears or is he Ty Dillinger?
He's Shawn Spears. Yeah,
so
he came back hitting Rich Holland with the chair. It was almost very similar to he has this chairman gimmick, just like he did in the beginning of AEW. It was the lights were out. He had the hood on, hit Rich Holland with the chair. It was very similar to what he did with Cody Rhodes.
This was on NXT, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think you're right too. Then the NXT creative system I don't want to say it's broken, but what has worked and always will work is like professional wrestlers with identities close to their real personality that are already established, coming to a new territory and making a little waves. I think what's important is the eventual evolution they have to go through, because it's a good first step in, but then I think upping the game and making that change is kind of necessary to further succeed, because the nostalgia pop will die out fairly soon. And I think Cody evolved himself as much as he looks the same. He's got the same presence as AEW, but he's like the story he came into, like it can't miss. You know what I mean? Like it's easy for him to be in that.
Sure. Did you work with Shawn Spears?
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah. How was he to work with?
Fantastic wrestler. He's a good trainer. He's what they would call he's a good brother.
Yeah.
Did they kind of bring him back into that? Like he's still prime shape and excellent. Is he in that sort of player coach role too? To kind of like NXT does need people that can bring greener new talent, especially those that might not have the background of wrestling, up to new levels if they're ever going to be TV ready. Because as we've seen, when those majority of the people that are not from a wrestling background that get called up to TV don't necessarily swim, so to speak. So maybe he's kind of there to kind of facilitate that, be a gatekeeper, so to speak.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with Shawn Spears. I mean, he was kind of like a glorified enhancement talent in many ways. He was super over as Ty Dillinger with the 10 gimmick. But, I mean...
Like EC3, it get called to the main roster, and it was over, and then it just...
Question with that EC3 when it comes to NXT. Is it safe to say that there's just people who are better off staying in NXT?
Maybe. I mean, at this point, though, is it like... It's not a downgrade and it's not a minor league. It's kind of its own independent television program.
It's a standalone brand. Yeah.
So I don't think maybe after a while you've usurped you've outgrown what you can do and maybe it's time to move. But I don't think Shawn's debuting, rushing to get back to Raw necessarily.
Right.
He's happy and he can tell great stories and have great matches and work with, upcoming talent and make great money doing that. Doesn't necessarily need to be Raw or SmackDown. Maybe not now. Maybe in a year,
Bro, where you at, EC3? Where you at?
I'm at Al Snow's house.
What's Al Snow doing with a menorah, bro? There's a menorah behind you, bro. Look behind you.
It's Jewish stepson's bedroom.
His Jewish step. So the Jewish stepson has a menorah around the clock? Very nice. Okay.
Really?
I thought it was a Hanukkah thing.
One of the names I mentioned was Andrade coming back to WWE. Meltzer said that he was given a good offer to stay in AEW, but he decided to leave. So EC3, do you consider this betting on himself or just not realizing that the grass isn't greener, wanting to be with Charlotte? I mean, what do you think is going on with it, Andrade here?
If your wife's there, is the grass necessarily greener? I mean, there's a bigger forum and probably, to trade one former creative tyrant for a new one, and then to see that maybe things have opened up and changed, and maybe the high morale in the WWE locker room is because Vince is gone. Now it's more welcoming. Plus, you get the familiarity and the comfort, and your wife, and you're in the biggest show in town. Like, seems like a good bet.
How much, though, do we want to bet? Come on, bro. You know how things work there. Vince or no Vince, how much do we want to bet that they're going to put Charlotte and Andrade on different shows? You know they're going to do that, bro. You know it. You know it.
That guard is gone. That's like a
well, we'll see. We'll see, bro.
That's insane. I mean,
we'll see.
But like Charlotte will be like, no, that ain't happening.
Yeah. Well, he's already been on Raw. So they're already on separate shows because Charlotte was on SmackDown.
She's a man. Are you seeing any of her workout videos?
Mm-mm.
Bro, she's a beast. Like, she is a physical beast.
Oh yeah, she's always been a monster.
These freaking workout videos she's putting up there to come back. My God, but God bless her, man.
Yeah. She's always been an amazing talent, as far as athleticism. I mean, she's an athlete. She's been an athlete, just about all her life. I think she was a big volleyball player, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, she's been doing that for a long time, man. And this is no different. So she has grit, man. She has passion for the business, and she wants to succeed. I can, working out myself, EC3, your big workout. Vince, you're joining us when it comes to the workout clan now. Man, it takes a lot of passion and grit, man, to work out and to have a regimen and stay with it. And Charlotte is, she's on it, man. So
yeah, and you say she wants to succeed. I mean, she has. Mm-hmm. She's really successful.
Yeah, well, succeed. I'm talking about as far as getting back into the ring. From injury. Yeah.
And then too, if you think about it, she's done so well. She doesn't need to. Mm-hmm. She could easily just kind of go through the motions, but some people are not wired to do that.
Pride, bro. Pride.
And I think that.
Yeah.
I like psychopaths.
Yeah.
I like.
Very interesting that you like psychopaths, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. Speaking of psychopaths,
Tony Khan?
Give me some weird segue here.
Tony Khan? Are we going to Tony Khan? There's your segue, bro. Speaking of psychopaths, Tony Khan.
Yeah. Tony Khan was on the program recently. Yeah, man. So let's talk about, Tony Khan when it comes to Andrade. Andrade decided to go from the WWE to AEW. Mm-hmm. So I would consider that being more of betting on himself because, he was making good money, I imagine, with the WWE. He became U.S. champ, was NXT champ, but still was in a spot where he just kind of reached the ceiling. Seemingly the grass was greener in AEW. Clearly wasn't, because he wasn't being utilized very well. What do you think his intentions were, EC3, having a mindset to defect from one promotion to the other? What do you think he was going for in his AEW jump?
Maybe to that supposed, at that time, it seemed that it was going to be the promotion geared towards wrestling, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe that the wrestling alone can take him to the top of it. But also, I think, well, I'm guaranteed this money over here, and I'm guaranteed this money over here.
Yeah.
Way less stress, way less of a schedule, and a boss who isn't going to ride my ass. If a boss is going to buddy me, you know what? It sucks because I'm passionate about my work and I want to be out there working. But if they're not going to use me and pay me a bunch of money to sit at home, I'm going to take it and enjoy my life. And
EC3, let me ask you this, man, as a talent, because you hear this a lot in professional sports when a player is a free agent and he chooses a team, whatever. How much does it come into play of how much they want you? In other words, bro, if you're in the WWE, you're just another name in the roster. You're just going around like the gerbil in the cage and nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden you got Tony Khan rolling out the red carpet, throwing money at you, really making a big deal fuss over you. Bro, wrestlers have egos. So, like, how important is that?
I don't know. If you played for the Yankees and, you're batting seventh, you're playing left field, and you can't crack I guess, the hierarchy of like the top names of the Yankees. A-Rod and Jeter are here, but your contract runs up and the Yankees are going to offer you, $100 million, but the Marlins are going to offer you 130 for like less years, and we're going to build the city around you.
You're going to be the guy.
You're going to be the guy. It's going to be Florida Marlins featuring you. You're the top name, and we're going to put all this promotion. Ego's a real thing, and to have it stroked like that, and hell, it's not a bad place to live. Miami's a hell of a city. I don't mind that. And then worst case, what's going to happen? They don't come through, but I'm guaranteed this money. Oh, well.
Yeah.
And then what gives you the best chance to win, I guess, maybe doesn't apply to professional wrestling, but what gives you the best chance to have notoriety outside of wrestling? I wrestle for AEW. What's that? I'm a WWE wrestler. Oh, wow. Like John Cena and Randy Orton and The Rock? Yes.
Yeah.